One expert tells me they are cautiously optimistic that this deal will lead to lasting peace, but clashing parts within the deal, they worry, could also lead to a breakdown in negotiations and more violence.
A capital V military victory.
The U.S. and Iran are both framing it as a victory after both agreed to a 2-week ceasefire Tuesday. Iran is now publicly saying the U.S. has violated parts of the agreement, including its desire to have enriched uranium, contradicting what the Trump administration says it agreed to. In earlier versions of the proposal, Iran released one in Farsi and listed a demand for acceptance to uranium enrichment. Experts say that could be posturing by Iran to its people.
To the people that the resistance paid off, we paid a heavy cost, but we won, and look, they are giving in to these demands, and this is a victory.
Control over the Strait of Hormuz also remains unclear tonight, with conflicting reports of whether it's open or closed. Experts say ultimately, any concession giving Iran control in the deal, including added tolls to global shipping, would leave the U.S. in a weaker spot than before the war when it was freely open.
Iran now has more control over the Strait of Hormuz and is actually policing and has more of a say about who goes through there safely than it did before.
And despite the ceasefire, missiles are still being launched, including Israeli strikes in Lebanon and smaller exchanges involving Iran. Experts say those are tied to Iran's decentralized military and proxy groups scattered across the Middle East, while the U.S. and Israel have also vowed to defend themselves.
A much more complicated war that involves asymmetric warfare that's going to create skirmishes all along the way.
Experts also say that countries like China have their own vested interests in seeing the end to this war, including who has control over the Strait of Hormuz. That is also why countries like Pakistan have stepped up to act as a mediator as ceasefire negotiations continue this week. Reporting in Washington, I'm Amy Liu.